we light this chalice, a symbol of our Unitarian Universalist tradition, as a sign that though all things change, the light of hope remains, and the courage to keep on making a way out of no way, that courage remains undimmed. And so, burn sure and strong, flame of community. In this place and in our hearts, may that hope and that courage carry us forward to all that beckons and all that remains.
Good morning and welcome to River Road Unitarian Universalist Congregation. My name is Bailey Whiteman. My pronouns are she and they, and I'm a member of River Road's Board of Trustees. I'm so glad we're here together. If you are new or feeling new, we hope you'll find what drew you here. If you've been here a few months, years, or decades, we hope you'll continue to deepen your connections and spiritual engagement. We are a community of communities that seeks to support one another as we grow, learn, and act to make the world more just, loving, and safe for all. This month, we'll be exploring the theme of change. While it is ever present in life, what can we discover? What can we learn? How can we lean into change? With change, there is always loss, and therefore grief, as well as opportunity. Change is, ironically, a constant. As a member of our Board of Trustees, I offer this reading today, and will read it to help center the board at our monthly meeting in a couple of weeks. We hope that sharing the theme grounds us as we serve and grounds all of us as a congregation. Pilgrimage by Maureen Killeran from The Spirit That Moves. Take yourself to a place where tourists do not go. Leave behind umbrellas, luggage, your address book, ID. Take only what you can carry on your back. If you are lucky, you will not return, or, failing that, you will not return unchanged. Take yourself into the woods where maps fail and there is no sound but the promising of rain. Let your feet carry you to the entrance of a cave. Sit there and listen to what the cave will say. Sit there. Listen. It is for this moment that you were born. It is for this moment that life has called you to this place. Sit. Listen. Know your presence as your prayer.
As Unitarian Universalists, we are blessed and honored to draw from the resources of many religious traditions, song traditions, cultures, and customs with the respect and admiration and attention due to each. In that spirit, our opening hymn is from the Hebrew tradition, Hine Matov, a song of prayer, a song of peace, a song of hope. Bailey will lead us, and the lyrics will be projected for you to follow along.
So I'm waiting for that slide that's going to show us the words. But I'll say them for you now, and you can repeat them back to me. The first part of the line is Hine matov umanayim. Hine matov umanayim. Shevet ahim gam yachad. Shevet ahim gam yachad. Let's say the whole thing together. Hine matov umanayim. Shevet ahim gam yachad. And as we can see how good and pleasant it is for us to dwell together in peace. The chant or hymn has two sections. They have the same words. It happens that each section is repeated. So this first time, I'll sing it and you sing it back to me. So I'll sing part A, you'll sing part A back with me. Then I'll sing B, you'll sing B back with me. Then we'll sing all together. And then presently, we'll start on this side, and then this side will answer, and we'll be in a round for a little while. Cliff, could I have a B? Thank you. So I'll begin. Hine matov umanayim, shevet ahim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim, shevet ahim gam yachad. Hine matov, shevet ahim gam yachad. Hine matov, shevet ahim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim, shevet ahim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim, shevet ahim gam yachad. Hine matov, shevet ahim gam yachad. Hine matov, shevet ahim gam yachad. Hine
טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה 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 טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם
I'd like to invite the families who are dedicating children this morning to come forward at this time. You can stand, parents and the children, if you stand on the first step, and family members can stand behind them if they'd like. I know. The passies. Yeah, let's do the first part. Sure. Good photo op.
Nobody's crying yet.
I know, it's a good day. Today, we formally welcome these beautiful children into the arms of this community of friends and into the embrace of this wonderful and confusing world, pledging to support and challenge them every step of the way along their path in life. The coming of a child into the human family changes the whole world, and the welcoming of a child into our congregational family changes and deepens everything we are. Here, embraced by their parents and family, and nurtured by those who love them, are the finest possible examples of that earth-shaking, world-changing miracle, life itself. Let us never take that miracle for granted.
These children are our hope, our pride, and our future. May we together hold them with tender and supportive hands today and every day to come. We come together to honor the perfection of this miracle, to dedicate ourselves to their service, and to remember that we are all called to nurture them into all that they might become.
The first part of our ceremony is the naming of children. So Liz and Aaron, what have you chosen to name this child?
Cade Foy Dean Randall.
Cade Foy Dean Randall, we welcome you and affirm our commitment to you. May generations be blessed by the love that you uniquely bring into this world.
Jamie and Tala, what name have you chosen for this child?
Alexander Hani Fakhuri.
Alexander Hani Fakhuri, we welcome you and affirm our commitment to you. May generations be blessed by the love that you uniquely bring into this world. In this ceremony of dedication, we ask parents, family members, and members of the community to pledge ourselves to the growth and nurturance of these children. We ask ourselves to help teach them through our example and our words to know that this world is their home, that it is holy, that their lives are a special gift which might change us all for the better. The promises we make are like concentric circles, radiating out from the center and touching the world. And so we begin at the center with the parents who bring these children to be dedicated. In bringing your child to be celebrated and welcomed, you acknowledge his need for a continued community of love and support and state your determination to guide him with understanding and commitment. Do you promise, to the best of your ability, in your words and in your deeds, to lead this child in the way of goodness, beauty, gentleness, and love? If so, please say, we do.
We do.
And then to the family and friends of these children. Among all people, you are those whom life has chosen to be companions to these children throughout their journey. And so, do you, the families and friends of the beloved children, promise to the best of your ability, in your words and in your deeds, to lead these children in the way of goodness, beauty, gentleness, and love? If so, please say, we do.
Will the children and youth please stand? You guys can stand up.
The children and youth in our congregation.
In our
Yeah, there you
congregation,
go.
yes.
Yeah. Y'all are important.
Do you promise to be a friend to these children and show them the way? If so, please say nice and loud, we do.
And now will the entire gathered congregation please rise in body or in spirit. You are the beloved community into which these children are being dedicated. Do you commit yourselves to actively supporting them so that they might grow in compassion and dignity and strength? Do you promise to nurture them in times of struggle as well as times of gladness, pledging to them and to their parents your continued support and care? If so, please say, we do. We do. You may be seated.
And so we come to the act of dedication. As you have been blessed by those who will journey with you, we give you this gift of a thornless rose, a symbol of beauty, possibility, and grace. It is our honor to dedicate each of you in turn. Oh, did I miss something? I must have.
You go first.
I go first, of course. She's busy holding the rope. I've got too many things. So typical. Cade Foy, Dean Randall, I dedicate you to the service of truth, the pursuit of compassion, and the ever-present source of all love. For you, Cade. And this is for you and their parents.
Alexander Hani Fakuri, I dedicate you to the service of truth, the pursuit of compassion, and the ever-present source of all love.
And so, Cade and Alexander, and honestly all the rest of us, may you go from this place and begin bit by bit to know who you actually are. May your dreams, your vision, all the mercy and power and peace that move within you be set loose in this world, and all of our love goes with you on the journey. Amen. And now, you don't have to keep them happy anymore. You can go sit down. What a blessing. everyone can go sit down, that is, except for Beth, our amazing Director of Religious Education. You might know that Beth is beginning a 2-month sabbatical, starting actually after this service today, right?
It's probably at 5 o'clock.
At 5 p.m., so, don't email her after that. In that time, Beth is completing training and certification as a spiritual director. She's exploring what it is, not just the RRE program here at River Road, but what it is that faith formation asks of progressive religious people now and in the years to come. Our words of blessing today as we send Beth off on her sabbatical are from Reverend Jan Taddeo, who actually once served in religious education right here at River Road. She was Beth's predecessor in this place with so much love, who shaped not only Beth's ministry among us, but our culture and our community in a million ways. Blessings as you, Beth, embark on a spiritual adventure. Blessings as you cross bridges and borders while we learn to navigate the world in new ways, even when you are not here. Blessings for the family, friends, colleagues, and congregants who will support you while you are gone. Let us take notice of the blessings that come when we move through time together yet apart, anticipating the joy of meeting anew at its end. Blessings, Beth. May it be so. And now, children and youth and religious education teachers and parents who are helping to guide the way are all invited to head out to your religious education classes. Many of you will know that we gather in this place every Sunday as unapologetically complex people. People with complex identities, complex stories, and the ever-present commingling of the joys and the sorrows, the laughter and the tears that comprised an honestly lived life. You're invited at any point throughout the course of our service to light a candle as you're so moved for the joys and the concerns that dwell in your heart today. This morning, I want to lift up, of course, just the unmitigated joy that we just beheld, right? These amazing families, friends gathered together in celebration of life and of hope and of possibility, and in celebration of all the exhaustion and the delight and the tears and the laughter yet to come in the lives of Cade and Alexander. You are the greatest of joys. We also gather knowing that we carry with us some complex feelings about the week ahead, perhaps in our own lives and in the life of this our nation. We hold in our hearts a commitment to the democratic process, a reminder that there is no institution or society or government or culture that exists without the full and faithful participation of its people. And so as we go forth to make our voices heard in this, our shared democracy, I hope we do so knowing that there is a balm upon the soul, no matter the results of any election, a balm upon the soul knowing that we are not alone and that values take shape in action, in all that we do, in the choices we make, in the fear that we carry, in the vision we hold. We light a candle of joy and of sorrow for each other, for democracy, and for everything this week will bring. Knowing, of course, that you are invited to call to mind your own joys and concerns, your laughter and your tears, I want to invite you, as you're able, to take a deep breath and a good seat for a word of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life, source of love, We Unitarian Universalists are not apocalyptic people. We are not the tellers of grand theological tales about who is wrong and who is right and who is blessed and who is chosen and who is left out in the end measure of all things. And yet we are people who fear the coming of days which are uncertain. We are people who fear that the peeling away of patterns we have long depended on that protect freedoms and uphold individuality, that those patterns sometimes feel entirely too tenuous, and we are reminded that the word apocalypse does not originally mean end times, but a great unveiling. In these days, as we peel away layer upon layer of falsehood, seeking ever after some core of truth that we can and must define for ourselves and hold ourselves accountable in community, may there be for us and for our community and for this nation an unveiling of the ties that bind each to all, an unveiling of the connections that persist even amid great division, an unveiling of the power and the possibility of the people who will not let each other go, will not let each other down, and will not let each other off the hook when everything depends upon our faithfulness. May we be our best, most honest selves. And when we are nervous and afraid and anxious and unsure, may we simply know that we are not alone, and may that, in the days ahead, for now, in the midst of great uncertainty, be enough. May beautiful things be unveiled, not just those things which are out of our control and held by larger forces, but those things which are within our own hearts. And may we give each other courage for the journey. Amen. We exist as a community because we choose each other, because we choose the values that connect us, because we choose to give in so many different ways to keep our collective vision alive. In this time of offering, we're reminded that we give gifts of time, of talent, and of treasure. I work here. I am astonished by the hours that all y'all put in for not a dime. The dedication and commitment that it takes to be a community of free thinkers in a frightening world is bold. And we invite you to give as you are willing and able in many different ways. As our choir sings the anthem this morning, you can, of course, give on the website. You can text to give. 73256 is the number. You can make your gifts in that lovely little purpose-built box right there in the back of the room. And we give not until it hurts, but until it feels good, for that which we hold as precious together in community. This morning's offering will now be gratefully received. As we listen together, I remind you our anthem is also a hymn of peace. He who makes peace in the high places makes peace for all people. Let us say truly, Amen. Years ago, before children, so it seems like a lifetime ago, John and I, along with a group of other clergy and a sort of motley crew of progressively faithful people, we took a trip across Jordan and Israel and Palestine. We hit so many of the highlights, you know. Ancient, beautiful Jericho, the Sea of Galilee, Jerusalem itself, in all of its complicated and utterly stunning glory. We crossed the borders of modern states and ancient faiths. And I tell you, everywhere we went, perhaps it comes as no surprise, everywhere we went, there were bricks lying in the desert sand, speaking of a different time. From the most isolated outpost on the Jericho Road to the heights of the famed fortress of Masada, in places that today perceive themselves to tell very different political and religious stories, some things were remarkably similar. For one, at nearly every single site, scattered across every border humankind could make between ourselves, at every site, there were these massive brick-lined holes in the ground. Sometimes those brick-lined holes in the ground were all that were left after the temples and the fortresses had all crumbled above them. There they were. Cistern, our tour guide said, again and again, every day. Cistern, 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 he pointed. Cistern, 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 we repeated. They were very often places to hold and preserve water. Then, as now, water is life, has always been life. Cistern, 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 we nodded. Day after day until one afternoon, in a site like so many other spots on so many other days, our guide stopped. He pointed at a gently sloping bricked terrace leading to yet another brick-inlaid hole in the ground. Mikvah, he said, as if throwing it over his shoulder, and kept on walking. A mikvah, I later learned. As many of you will know, it is a ritual bath in the ancient and modern Jewish traditions. On the most basic level, it is a pool in which one enters unclean and departs pure. And you know we Unitarian Universalists are not big fans of the whole idea that anybody, no matter what, is impure. And yet, the ritual remains real. A tradition echoed and amplified in the ritual baths used all throughout the Islamic world in preparation for or completion of the holiest pilgrimages. It is an act of preparation, a passage. A passage through a mikveh is a time to literally enter the waters as one version of yourself and find your way emerging the other side somehow fundamentally changed. Modern practitioners, they use this ritual as a marking of the passages in our lives, and a passage that creates change in and of itself. It marks change and it creates change. It makes us new, or at least just new enough to face what is coming along our path, less afraid than we were when we entered it. And while every single thing changes, states and religions and practices and dreams and identities, those same stones of an ancient mikveh and so many others besides have sat in the desert for thousands of years, bearing testament to those who came before and to all of their dreamed of futures given form in our own lives. Now, recently, my friend Nachma, who's a community organizer and has served for many years in Jewish community relations in Boston, she was speaking to a group of multi-faith religious leaders and organizers who were all together, both getting our act together and stressing quite a lot about the perilous times it is that we live in. Times when political fragmentation and discord are so fresh before our eyes every day, with new and ancient forms of hatred and bigotry just spouting around and like laser beams landing on the most vulnerable among us all the time in this society. Times when anti-Semitism is on the rise in ways it has not been in the lifetimes of entire generations of our children. It can feel, in these moments of great change, and even great peril? Like every single thing depends on our ability, the ability of people of good faith across religious traditions to come up with solutions right about yesterday for the troubles that we face together. It can feel like it is incumbent upon us to answer all the abiding questions about why hate persists and where dissension comes from, to fix it already. The weight can be so heavy. Nachma reminded us, all these community organizers and blessed do-gooders of every faith, she reminded us in that moment of highest tension and percolating anxiety about the future of our society and the future of congregations themselves, to think back to the ritual of the mikveh in her tradition. Facing uncertain political and emotional times, it isn't, she said, about having the answers and confidently declaring them for all to get on board with. She said, instead, it's about making our way with care and conviction through the unknown, a spiritual practice that she learned most importantly in the waters of the mikveh. There are, she told us, several prayers that one says as you make your way into and ultimately out of that ritual path, this passage which makes a change in you. Each blessing, and there are 3, comes with an invitation to immerse yourself fully in those waters of memory and change. And in her own progressive Jewish practice, the first incantation holds a blessing for the person you were before you set foot on this current journey. The person perhaps you have left behind following the will of God and the faith of the people. The second blessing holds space for who you are right now, including your worries and your fears and your still unrealized hopes and dreams. And the third, the final blessing of the mikveh, she said, before emerging out of those transforming waters and into the world that waits, with all the forces within it that still scare you, the third blessing is a blessing for all that you are busy becoming. The third blessing that Nachma uses, the one to bless the person she's becoming, it's adapted from the great Jewish philosopher Maimonedes, which says in the form of a prayer, teach thy tongue to say, I don't know. Just that. Emerge from the cleansing waters with these words, the way forward. Teach thy tongue to say, I don't know, and thou shalt progress. The great philosopher Rousseau, he once said, I don't know, is a phrase that becomes us, perhaps more than any other. It is a starting point for actual growth. It is an acknowledgement that wherever it is we are going, we have not arrived there yet, and that there will always be spaces between all of our blessed assurances and most forthright declarations. The space which starts with I don't know and leads to a continued conversation is in fact the whole basis of congregational life. If we had it all figured out, why ever would we need each other? It may, in fact, be the basis of a healthy, functioning democracy. The open space that is left by all we do not know is an origin point for the next step on any worthwhile journey, and it is an essential component of the most rational of questions. Without leaving the open space for all you do not know, the whole world could change around you and you would remain fundamentally unmoved. In this way, what do I not yet know is perhaps one of the most foundational questions we can ever ask. It is the question that makes community possible. It is the question that makes spiritual and personal growth possible. It is the question that makes science possible. It is the question that has haunted the civic life of empires before us, and it is the same question that haunts our civic life here in the United States of America today, where the performance of blustered self-assurance is a substitute for genuine inquiry. As Leah Hager Cohen wrote, our civic life together is heavily marked indeed pocked, by debates in which each side is so certain of its position that any movement at all is effectively impossible. For that matter, debate in its original sense, to consider something, to deliberate, is impossible unless first we open ourselves up to the idea that something has yet to be revealed. We wind up in the midst of our certainty with so much sound and fury and nothing gained. Sound familiar? And while I don't like the homiletic practice of stringing quotes together and I try to cut them, there is another quote that I simply could not put on the cutting room floor today, so I'm going to read it to you anyway. Bear with me. I'm breaking all my rules. Which is from the great Polish poet Czesław Miłosz. He said, "When someone is honestly 55% right, that is very good. And if someone is 60% right, it is wonderful. It is great good luck, and let her thank God for it. But what is to be said of he who is 75% right? Wise people say this is suspicious." "Well, and what about 100% right?" he says. "Whoever says she is 100% right is a fanatic, a thug, and the worst kind of rascal." In all honesty, it is our vulnerability that saves us, and we are all more fragile creatures than the certainties we perform for one another. We are none of us fully in possession of all the wisdom we will need to survive. We are also desperately in need of each other's compassion, that the absence of it could be our collective undoing. And the fierce and flinty-eyed performance of certitude is most often a hard and dangerous mask that is worn to cover up some greater hurt within. But the gift of not being so sure, of coming home to a theology of humility, which says that you do not have to have it all figured out to face the full unfolding of your future. A theology which invites you to lean over the edge of all you do not know. It is right here every day. And I'm not just talking about here within the walls of this place. Scattered across the deserts of some of the most beautiful and war-riddled spaces in this whole world, written across 3,000 years of history that spans cultures and empires and religious traditions, the palaces of the mighty have all fallen, but the brick-lined holes in the ground still remain, baking in the sun. They go on as reminders of the passages of the people who came before us, of their willingness or lack thereof to undergo real transformation in the living of their lives, their capacity to embrace just who it was they were becoming. Evidence of the three blessings for who they were, who they are, and who the future yet would make of us. Our lives lean just over the edge of the unknown. The worthiest goals extend out over the edge of our vision's horizon. Blessed and beckoning, each time we teach our tongues once again to say, "I don't know," and keep on moving toward all that comes, formed but not owned by our love and our deep, abiding effort. Dang, Cliff. Community happens because we make it happen, and there are so many people to thank today, beginning especially with our musicians and service leaders today. What a gift to have Bailey Whiteman both serving on our board and song leading for us. Having both choirs lead the way today is a great gift, and of course accompanied by their semi-fearless leader, Cliff Harden, and Shuai Wang always being so gracious and wonderful. Can I brag on Cliff for a minute? That this summer, there's an annual gathering of Unitarian Universalists, the General Assembly, where we all get together with all the UUs around the world. Cliff Harden will be directing the General Assembly choir this summer. It's going to be amazing. I also, of course, I want to thank our tech team. We've got Dave Leonard, and we got Jeff Hollingsworth, and we got Ajay, who was here at like 7:45 getting everything set up. And even though Marsha Leonard was supposed to have the day off, I'm pretty sure she did like 65 things instead. I don't know, because she's like a church lady in spite of herself. It is such a blessing to be each other's people, even in the midst of uncertain times. And we do all sorts of things together as expressions of who it is we want to be together. I want to highlight just a few announcements and also set you up to look at your e-weekly, which if you are not receiving, you can sign up at the welcome table to get on our email list. The e-weekly has all the information about signups and registrations you could need. Firstly, that we will have a new member book signing next week right over here. If you are feeling like this merry band of weirdos is your spiritual home, you are always welcome to join us. We'll gather right after the service over there. We also have a variety of holiday clothing and toy drives that are kicking off now. We're doing a clothing drive for immigrant refugee families. You'll see the box right out front. I think it's mostly winter coats and winter clothes. We're also doing a toy drive for Beacon House, and it is our great, great joy that our signature Thanksgiving event this year on November 12th. Is that already next week, Dave? That's next week. That's next week. Next Saturday, River Road and To Be Well Fed, which is the amazing organization run by the Kivra family and operating out of the lower level here in this building. We are going to have a food packing event. We're going to pack 150 bags of food for DC Public Schools. We have all the volunteers that we need, which is amazing, and they're volunteers of all ages, but we need supplies. We checked with the schools, and they gave us a very specific set of supplies that they need. So, like, we do not need your old can of beans as much as you love it. We need the specific things that those families have requested. You can see Dave, who is wearing all green, the colors of To Be Well Fed, and Reverend Karin, who is right back there. They'll set you up with more information about what we need for the meal packing, and we hope that you will come over, sign up, and help us stuff those bags and get that food where it needs to go. Also, and this is kind of a big deal, we've been working a long time to install solar panels here on our beloved space. I don't know like how many years, some number of years, but Thursday is the slated start day for the solar panel installation. I am reminded by Jeff Hollingsworth to keep everyone's expectations managed. It's going to take a while. I anticipate probably through the end of March, but it is a real labor of love and a great gift. And I think that's all the announcements that I can remember today. And so, as we prepare to leave this place, made sacred by our coming together, may the truths that make us free, the love that casts out fear, and the hope that never dies, guide us and those we love and those we do not love forward together till the day spring breaks and all the shadows flee away. Amen.